nice to have you with us. So we've done. This is where the week starts picking up and starts getting pacey and becomes a jaw. Okay, because we've done the business on Monday, we've done the legals on Tuesday, we've done the medical on Thursday. Now this is the beginning of the weekend technically, because this is where we start having fun. This is where we bring in travel and say hello to Andrew Stark from Flight Centre. Hello, Andrew. How are you doing?
Well, and you, Jeremy? Good to see you again.
Yeah, you swine. You said to me that you would see me in studio, and then suddenly you do a runner.
I did. Well, listen, I'm actually at the office doing some real work, Jeremy. So, making sure it's good to see South Africans are still traveling. Whilst traveling domestically, they are traveling. So we're at work with the team, making sure we're looking after all our customers.
And you've sent a representative in for yourself.
I have, Jeremy, unfortunately for this afternoon session. But it's exciting. It's Travel Thursdays, and we're excited again to showcase a bit of our expertise. But before I introduce Bianca in studio, I probably just want to, share with you where I'll be next week. I'm actually escaping Johannesburg's cold, and I'm again experiencing a little bit more of South Africa, and this time it's the Greater Kruger National Park and a bit of Hazy View for a week with the family. Because being in the travel industry, it's important that we lead by example and we show South Africans that it's very safe to travel domestically. Okay. So that's where I'll be.
That's your story and you're going to stick to it, eh?
Absolutely. There's going to be some perks in the travel industry these days, Jeremy. You know that. But it's fantastic. You're really looking forward to it. We've got lots of great homegrown holiday packages, on sale now. So obviously reach out to one of your nearest Flight Centre experts or go on to flightcentre.co.za. Lots to share there as well. And with that, we've got a very exciting topic to discuss with our Flight Centre customers as well as any other traveller. It's all around cancellations and refunds. And that's probably why I'm not in studio today, Jeremy. A very topical conversation. Although, we have refunded over 300 million rands worth of refunds to South Africans over the last 12 months. And we know it's a very topical conversation. So we've got Bianca Muzio, who's our Flight Centre General Manager, in studio with you today. And then a little bit later, Emily, our Customer Experience Manager, to talk that through with you.
Good one. Will you go off and lead by example? Off you go, Andrew.
I will. Cheers, Jeremy.
Cheers. Nice to have spoken to you, Andrew. And welcome, Bianca Muzio.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I see Andrew's left the topical conversation to me for the day. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but really, it is really great to be here. And as Andrew said, it has been a very up and down conversation, but we're here and we'd obviously love to answer questions. I think where we're sitting at the moment with regards to cancellation and refunds is that we have 200 world-class experts sitting in our front line who have actually been dealing with this for the last year. So, if anybody's an expert when it comes to refunds and cancellations over this time, Flight Centre is definitely the company that can assist moving forward with that with regards to all travel.
Well, I mean, it involves all the aspects of travel as well, though, Bianca, because I think, I may be wrong, but I think that possibly one of the industries where people are a little bit hesitant about going online and getting things done is probably travel, because there's so many unknowns.
Definitely. And I think there's a two-way there. I mean, if we look at our online booking tool, which Flight Centre does have, we do give our customers the option whether they're booking online or whether they would like to deal with an expert. But for your normal point-to-point, that seems to be where our online omni-channel is definitely working. Mm-hmm. But, I think when international travel does open and we're needing that expert advice with regards to vaccinations, visas, quarantines, where can I travel to, what destination is opening up next. I can honestly say that with the 200 experts in our frontline, it's definitely a place where you want customers to go to get the correct advice.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing you want is getting to the airport, or you denied boarding, or you don't have the correct paperwork. So at this time over the year, we've learned so much, and things get updated every day. One minute you're traveling, the next minute you can't go to this destination. So, I think it's really, if it's point to point, 100%. We do have an online booking tool, but I think customers are really going to be wanting to deal with the experts in the front line.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, as you say, especially when, when international travel starts opening up more and more.
And we're holding fingers crossed that that's sooner rather than later. So, yeah.
I think everybody is, actually. Shall we bring Emily in here? And I'll tell you why, Bianca. Because we've had quite a few questions, and that's why we wanted to do this particular show. Excuse me, leaning forward with my glasses on. It's called Old Age Creeping Up on You. We've had quite a few emails in from viewers, like this one from Jerry in White River. And they're asking pretty specific questions, and we've pulled out some of them that have got to do with this particular topic. Yep. So if we can zoom in Emily and say hello to her. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Well, thank you. Welcome to Mansfield today, and thank you for taking time out to join us, Emily.
Thank you.
Let's just quickly run through a few of these, and we can chat about them. As I said, Jerry from White River said, if my travel is affected by change in travel restrictions, will I get a refund?
Look, I think that's a question that a lot of travellers have been asking. I think more so than ever, we really understand the value of every rand, and that travellers want to know that there's certainty around what's going to happen with their travel. So I think in that we always try to openly communicate, to manage expectations, but to prepare customers that we can, within what's been an extremely fluid landscape, only kind of advise on what we've seen happen so far. So suppliers really have been great. I think travel industry over, everyone's really tried to not lose sight of the fact that on the other end of that reservation is a traveller, which is why we're all here. So I think they really have been very cognizant of the fact that travel regulations change. And they've also taken that into account. So what we've seen is that majority of the suppliers have then given the option to retain that value of what you've paid, and then to use it towards a future reservation, especially now that COVID is a very real factor in our travel. It is something that they're aware of, and majority of them have taken the approach to then give that credit towards future travel, whereas a smaller portion of suppliers, but some have given the option for refunds. So I think that's really where the value of a travel expert comes in, because, I mean, we're constantly motivating on behalf of our travellers to get flexible options. And that's certainly an approach that we've seen suppliers take to give flexibility.
Two questions here from Carol, who says, firstly, am I guaranteed a refund if I no longer feel comfortable to travel? And the second one is, what happens if I catch COVID and have to cancel my travel? What are the answers there?
Two very good questions. The one, again, it would be an approach that you take in terms of what different suppliers, so you might have different airlines or different land suppliers who give very unique reaccommodation policies to each supplier. So a monetary refund isn't always guaranteed, unfortunately. The travel industry has been incredibly hard hit, and I think the ripple effects of the pandemic still is very real and very present. So monetary refunds aren't always an option, always guaranteed, but certainly motivating if someone does fall ill with COVID, that suppliers are giving consideration in terms of that, and potentially then giving an extension to travel at a later date, obviously with supporting documentation showing the reason for deciding not to travel. If someone were to not feel comfortable with travel, that is still considered in a majority of cases a voluntary, so essentially a disinclination, which would be a voluntary change in essence.
Okay, and then a last one here for you, Emily. Somebody didn't leave their name, but is obviously a bit upset. Why are my flights not being refunded, despite the flights not happening due to circumstances not in my control? That's my voice.
Very, very good voice. No, so, and as I said, it is a very real consideration that the travel industry has been affected. And in a lot of those cases, if you consider that travel from when the pandemic started and when travel really started being affected, we've now passed the year mark. So that means within suppliers, when that travel's booked through Flight Centre with them, that unfortunately hasn't been an opportunity or possibility for a lot of the suppliers to afford monetary refunds. There hasn't been any prior circumstances or prior examples for majority of the suppliers to model their approach on. So the approach that they have put forward, and I think the approach that's motivated both from a consumer goods ombudsman and a fair consideration, is to make sure that customers don't lose the value of that travel. But the reality of it is that unfortunately monetary refunds isn't always a possibility, just considering the scope of the circumstances.
Emily, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Bianca, back to you. What struck me there while Emily was talking is that so often we seem to discuss, especially on the travel show, we seem to discuss the relationship between a client and a travel entity or agent. One of the things that came through fairly strongly there was also the suppliers. Now, you guys work with a whole host of suppliers. You know your suppliers. So you are in a position, and this comes back to that person-on-person relationship. Yep. You are in a position to sit down with the suppliers and say, listen, guys, this is what we need to do. So there is that relationship as well, which the traveller would not necessarily, in most cases, wouldn't have. With that.
And I 100% agree. And I think that's the biggest learning we've had over this years, is how important the supplier relationship is. I mean, our consultants do sit in the front end. We do chat to sales reps that come in on a daily basis. So we are the individuals having those conversations backwards and forwards with suppliers. You know, if there is a customer that specifically would like to have a refund, we can actually get in touch with those suppliers and actually get to the nitty-gritty of what it is that the supplier requires in order to either refund in full, whether to keep it on credit. And, you know, we're available on our phones. Our stores are open. They have been open since September. So that walking into a store, even if people feel uncomfortable, our phone lines are still open. So we have 200 consultants from Hoppers 8 to Hoppers 5 daily, ready to take on all those queries from customers and be able to respond to the customers with any feedback that we've had from suppliers or airlines. So really gives our customer the trust in us, and also that we're available.
We were talking about international travel opening up. There is a certain amount of very limited international travel that has opened up, and I think maybe that's something that we should start looking at, because, you know, everybody in so many ways is COVIDed out. We're still very aware of it. We've got to be aware of it. But there are some places that are open. I'm thinking of places like the Maldives, places like Zanzibar. And maybe next week what we should do is get somebody in from Flight Centre to talk about one or both of those venues.
Well, we were so excited when Maldives opened. If anybody's doesn't want to be traveling domestically anymore, definitely Maldives is the place probably where people will have off their bucket list. So if there's any place to actually travel right now at really good deals, I would definitely suggest Maldives is the place to be if you've done with the local beaches.
Okay. Right, there you go, guys. Next Thursday, make sure you join us. We're going to be talking about, amongst other things, the Maldives and what's happening there. And we'll try and see what sort of rates are around for you if you are looking at making a move out of South Africa for a week or two. But Bianca, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
It's nice to be with you as well. We'll catch you tomorrow with The Property Show. And next week, don't forget, We'll be looking at travel once again on Thursday and looking at the Maldives. Look forward to doing that. Until then, look after yourself and goodbye.